Hey guys, Jason for TCG Alerts here, recording this video for the second time because I used the wrong mic and I simply can't subject you guys to the terrible quality of the onboard laptop microphone. So I want to take you through XRP USD and the canary in the coal mine, Bitcoin USD, and we're going to check out some alerts. So XRP has been on a relatively slow decline since we saw that nice run up in late September. And although we have slowly been trending down, we are starting to see good signs of life on XRP if you ignore the big drop that we saw over on the 6th. So let's take a look at what set that up and how that played out according to the alerts. So we can see we have some very nice interplay between our abnormal volume and our oversold overbought indicator. Sometimes abnormal volume can act as a signal for reversal, and we see that happen a couple times, but let's walk through. So abnormal volume, we have an oversold indicator on the 15-minute time frame, sideways activity, and then we see this nice pop, and we signal at the top of that pop with the abnormal volume. Over here, we see abnormal volume showing us some increased volume, and that's what abnormal volume is increased volume. And we see increasing volume without any movement. That suggests that there's a lot of movement being dumped into the bid, or people are chomping at the ask. Now, we know that in this case, we see a bear break, and we saw a lot of action following that bear break. In fact, we saw the 15-minute, the 30-minute, and the 60-minute oversold indicator all firing within not very long of each other. And that always signals a lot of activity, so much so that we saw another abnormal volume. So quite a bit of action happening here into a pennant and continuation, signaling yet another oversold indicator. Since that time, we have been going generally sideways, you forming a little bit of a triangle. Some would call this a descending wedge, some are going to call it a triangle, but it doesn't matter what it is because we keep setting up these lower highs, and as soon as we get some action over that high, especially on increased volume, it signals the short-term bottom and a nice potential run-up. So we see that our abnormal volume on consolidation of this initial breakout, downside action, and more upside continuation. Ultimately, we get a nice overbought indicator for once at 50 cents before pulling back, and we're now trending sideways following that breakup. As I said before, on the 30-minute and the 60-minute time frame here, we can see that on this big breakdown, we got a lot of those oversold indicators firing at once, caught with the abnormal volume on this consolidation, this nice little pennant that we saw before continuation. Now, abnormal volume is acting as the top indicator on these two breakouts here, and we're now going sideways. So how do we follow this long term if we're going to be trading, or if we're away from our desks? How do we use we're going to continue going upside, or are we going to see another leg down here following this big breakdown that we saw on the 6th? Well, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be watching my TCG cross indicators on the 4-hour time frame. So let's go take a look at those. So the TCG cross is a multiple MA indicator that we use, similar, I guess, to the MACD, but it's strictly using MAs and correlations between MAs to indicate whether or not we're going to be in a temporary bullish or temporary bearish scenario. So on the 4-hour time frame, I use the TCG cross to get an idea of what the general direction of the market is in. So currently, we are in a 4-hour bull cross. So we tripped our TCG 4-hour bull cross on the 8th at midnight UTC. We are currently in a nice uptrend, and we can see the last couple times that has happened, we've seen some good follow through. This over here, these two back-to-back indicators, if we turn on our bear cross, we can see that these were very tight, very close. And just what that means is that the price action is right around that cutoff between, is it a bear cross, is it a bull cross? So when you see it going back-to-back here, look to see what was the final indicator, and we can see that ultimately bears won this little battle. We trended down, consolidated, and now we are in a nice bull environment. So what I'm going to be watching, I'm going to be playing this bullish on the short term. I'm going to be looking at my 15-minute patterns. I'm going to be looking at my 15-minute setups. And I'm going to have a little bit of a bull bias just because I know that we are in a nice, strong 4-hour TCG bull cross scenario. As soon as I get that bear cross alert on my phone, I'm going to change my attitude a little bit. I'm going to look at it with a fresh perspective, make sure that I'm not going to be blinding myself to the upside, and just keeping an eye on the fact that we are now in a bearish TCG cross situation. So that's what I use in conjunction with MACD on the 4-hour and daily time frames to try and get a little bit of a read where we are and it's a good indicator for you to be using if you're on the 15 and 30 minute time frames trading. Try to get an idea what that TCG cross is doing. So looking at our canary in the coal mine, BTC USD on the 15-minute time frame, nice and bullish for the last day or so. We see some good overbought alerts on the 15-minute time frame. We would right where we expect to see them. We see our abnormal volume signaling the tops or the bottoms of those quick recoveries, and we see our abnormal volume and our overbought indicators signaling those breakouts and tops of breakouts. On the 30-minute time frame, with our abnormal volumes catching the nice tops of these breakouts. So slow and steady run-ups, and then abnormal volumes signaling the tops even after our overbought conditions. Sometimes when we get into these quick bull scenarios, we can see the price moving really, really quickly up without that volume to back it up. We reached high levels of RSI before we pull back. And then once we have a chance to breathe and everyone sort of takes notice, we continue that upside movement, and eventually we have so much volume being traded back and forth that the abnormal volume kicks off, and a lot of times those are going to signal your tops as well. On the 4-hour time frame for Bitcoin, we are currently in a TCG bull cross, so things have been looking up. Our last bull cross had some good upside opportunities. We went bear, and we have now recovered, and we are now bull on the TCG 4-hour time frame. So I'm going to be watching that as well. I'm going to have my TCG 4-hour bear break indicator and alert ready. If I see that, I'm going to change my trading attitude and my perspective. And until that comes in, we're going to maintain that bullish emphasis. So that's all for today. I hope those have helped you, and I hope to see you guys starting to use the TCG 4-hour and daily indicators as a little bit of a guide to help you with your 15-minute and 30-minute day trading opportunities. Thanks, guys.